About time you fucking grow up. Hey, no phones.
I know, I'm putting it on silent.
Welcome to another episode of Sophisticated Ignorance. I'm your host, Steven. First off, it's gonna be me doing the show. No Vixon, no video this week. Prayers out to his family. I know he got some family stuff he got to take care of. Nieema is also on break as well, you know, dealing with school and work, so she's taking a little break from the show. So I'm joined here by the podcasting legend herself, Mandii B.
Hey, Mandii B in his house.
Decisions. I finally found out your government name. You signed your name in the lobby. I was like, oh,
you're trash. You're trash. Now I gotta go down and fucking black it out. I don't need people knowing my government around here.
It's fine.
I am Mandii my nizzle from the Whoreible Decisions Podcast. What's up? Thanks for having me today.
Thank you.
Even though my voice sounds like shit, I was telling you, I went out
raspy naturally. So
yeah, but now I'm super raspy. I'm literally he made me tea, guys, but so that's awesome. But I went out to karaoke last night with my friend Cuddy. And she decided to pick Beyonce. And we can't hit those notes. But we were trying. And so today I woke up sounding like this.
You'll be fine. Nobody's going to mistake you for Jadakiss on this one. You're safe. So I think you don't really need an introduction. Whoreible Decisions is world renowned.
Oh, stop it.
Well, I had came up with the idea of like just bringing specific guests back on the show because we had a bunch of high caliber or a lot of people with social media followings early on.
Humble flex, yes.
My emails are A1. The initial email seals the deal.
Hey.
So I was like, yo, how am I gonna get Mandii back on and what are we gonna talk about? Because I don't want it to be redundant on Whoreible Decisions, because that's y'all platform.
I appreciate that. That's
y'all platform, and y'all hit a specific niche. So it's like, let me figure something out. So I was like, let's get into, balancing who you are as an individual.
I appreciate that because I am more than my pussy. So I don't want to talk about my pussy every time I am on a microphone. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
I try.
Thank you.
So before we even get into that, I think I wanted to start off with recently you and Weezy, shout out to Weezy, was on Brilliant Idiots. And I think that took things to
another level.
Different level. I mean, when I first came across y'all, I was like, okay, y'all are funny, y'all are dope. I already knew like y'all was going to skyrocket eventually as long as y'all kept being, consistent with doing the work. And then, y'all made certain episodes or you collaborated with certain people and I was like, all right, they out of here. Once I saw you on Brilliant Idiots, I was like, all right, she never going to respond to my DMs ever again.
No, well, stop it. First off, you got to stop with these Hollywood notions of me.
Accurate.
I'm definitely not. I mean, I think now, like, I'm as regular as they fucking come. I talk to everybody. I respond to everybody on all the social platforms as much as I can. The good and the bad.
Oh, you respond to the bad too?
Yeah, I just be like, girl, don't nobody care. If I'm bored, I'll respond. Yeah. If I'm not bored enough, I won't respond to the bad stuff. But I definitely, throughout the time of the show, have tried to work on the things that I was constructively criticized about. So as far as cutting guests off, we're dealing with our audio issues right now. So to me, receiving feedback for the show that I can work on as an individual, as far as my performance or how I'm speaking, is something that can be adjusted, and I'll listen to feedback about that. However, when people have an opinion on my fucking opinion, I just do not give a fuck. I think we are all entitled to our own opinions. In a setting like this where I'm allowing a conversation or a discussion to happen, you're more than welcome to disagree with me and we can go back and forth. But I'm not responding to these 8-paragraph emails that I'm getting, and I'm not responding to the DMs that are trying to say I am wrong or problematic in my opinion. People are problematic in their opinions. That's why we're all trying to cancel Kanye. So Kanye, Donald Trump, all these motherfucking people, we're allowed to have our opinions. Like, that's the great thing about having freedom of speech in this type of fucking country. So when you're sitting here trying to tell me that my opinion is wrong based on your opinion, you can shove it up your ass. And that's what I have to say about that.
There you have it. So since y'all been on Brilliant Idiots, have you seen like an increase of those?
Oh, stop it. You already know. Not to humble flex. Everyone knows, like, So podcasting, if you're wanting it to grow, and for any other people who are listening who may have a podcast, the numbers, you glue yourself to them.
Yes,
so facts. You glue yourself to, what are my numbers on this episode? What are my weekly numbers? What are my monthly numbers? Am I increasing? Am I decreasing? What can I do differently? Like, and none of us are, a lot of us don't do this for a living, but we grow into little statisticians. Like, we're looking at the analytics and trying to see how the fuck we can be better. So, we have actually gone up. We're now hitting about 40,000 a week in listens, and I believe the last time I was here with you, oh my God, which was probably 8 months ago or so by now, I would say, we were barely hitting 10.
Really? I thought you was doing numbers even back then.
No, I mean, we had a great following, and we had, it sounded good, but no, we were, but for podcasts, 10K a week is a lot. That still puts you in the top 5% of podcasts, because there's still so many podcasts that are only hitting, a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there, which is still a big deal for a lot of people. Like, you have 100 people that want to listen to you fucking talk every week. But yeah, right now we've been getting hit up by so many different networks. We did the Vice article shortly after Brilliant Idiots. We're now signed to Loudspeaker Network. Shout out to Loudspeakers. And yeah, we've been getting hit up by BET, hopefully by, we have HBO and Vice possibly coming to our live show. So, I mean, we're definitely trying to mix and mingle and keep growing this platform.
Nice. So, with the show itself, was there any bit of reluctancy when y'all started? Like, do I really want to put my dirty laundry out there? Because, I mean, for the people that don't really know you, that followed you, you started off after high school being a model. Then you transitioned into being a sports blogger.
Yes, and credentialed media with the NBA.
Yeah, so for most of that tenure, you're basically talking about everybody else's lives. Now you're talking about your own life.
And I have become very vulnerable. So when we first got together to make this show, Weezy wanted it to be a little bit more inclusive, and I was like, I'm not gonna not say nigga. Like, so I have a black following, and knowing that we were starting a platform and I had already had a set following, I knew my following was majority black. So I'm like, we're going to have a lot of black listeners. How we gauge to speak
to them and speak to
everyone. I don't know how we gonna do that, because I ain't gonna not say nigga. But when we did start, there were some things about my personal life that I did want to keep out. I'm not gonna lie, knowing that we had this already set audience that would possibly listen to us, I was like, Weezy, I don't want to talk about pegging. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about that.
That went out the window.
Probably by episode 3. But I'm like, I really want to not scare everyone away in the beginning. Because these are topics that we have that aren't had in our community and aren't had in the household.
In a healthy way.
In a healthy way, I wanted to push those conversations onto our community. But to bring it in a funny way, which is, why we're kind of funny sometimes. But
y'all are hilarious.
But this is how we talk about sex. Our parents, clearly, both of our moms came on the show. They're both very open.
Hilarious.
They're both very open. So yeah, so it was just it's kind of how the cookie crumbled. And now we're very open. We have nicknames for just about all of our partners that we have in our lives. And at this point, there's not much that we've shied away from. We've been pretty open. I've been open with my lifestyle. I've been open with my education, my career, not too much, because it is very opposite. I work corporate. And then I've been open with my recent changes after surgery. So, I mean, I've been very transparent, I believe, for the most part.
That's what's up. Yeah, I've seen, like, y'all just been saying whatever the first thought that comes to your mind, y'all just let it out.
Which isn't
and I
always
think that's
good.
why everybody loves the show, because it's this rawness that you don't typically get.
Right.
I think especially in the world of sex, it's like people, especially in our community, kind of, keep it as something that's really taboo, and it's like, nah, all the shit that people do are natural. It's either you're just not into it or you're not. So
right.
I think that's dope that y'all have a platform for that. So with being so open,
yes,
and you kind of, even before we started recording, you was kind of like airing out some people that, you know, was talking some wild shit to you.
Oh, God.
So has there ever been any like legit negative feedback that was like, you know what, that really affected me? Because I know you don't give a fuck.
So I don't give a fuck.
It's the same thing with me. Like, I don't give a fuck either.
It's crazy because I when we receive letters and people say why they like Weezy and they say why they like me, they enjoy Weezy's vulnerability and her emotional state. I am very blunt, straight to the point, and I have an I don't give a fuck type of attitude. I'm going to say what the fuck I have to say when I want to say it, how I want to say it. And yeah, so recently, as I was going off to you before we recorded, there's been some issues because I felt a way about a letter. Someone wrote us and said that we did not showcase enough dark-skinned women and that we were afforded our horrible decisions based on our light skin. Now, when I went on the rant, I am fully aware of light skin privilege. I am fully aware of it. However, I have a huge problem with hypocrisy. And I don't know if you want me to get into where...
We got time.
Okay, so my issue is not that I'm light-skinned and you're dark-skinned and I may not be able to know the struggles that you faced as a darker-skinned woman. Mind you, I'm black. My mom, although she's white, my dad is black. I grew up in all black areas. The hood...
You identify as black.
All of my schools were like 98% black in Orlando. Like, I grew up in the black areas. So I've always identified as black. I am black. And although I may be light-skinned, I have still faced certain tribulations as a black woman. And so with our platform right now, we identify as black. We say it's a black podcast. We speak up for women of color, people of color, black people specifically. And we always say our community.
Yeah.
So within our community, I don't appreciate the divide. Because essentially we're doing exactly what we don't want everyone else to do.
It's the separator.
Is the separation and the segregation between, oh, well, yeah, you're black, but you're light-skinned, so you can't know what I do. It's the same thing that we do with blacks and whites. Then there's the level of superiority. But even within our podcast and the conversations that we have, I've mentioned my distaste for hypocrisy on a vast majority of issues. Going back to feminism. I spoke this on the episode with Jamel Lemieux and Weezy. They are both self-proclaimed feminists, yet within feminism, which is supposed to be a movement for women empowerment, women in general, they then divide it, black feminists, white feminists. Then you have religion. You have religion that I also believe is nothing but a walking hypocrisy.
Yeah, it's walking contradiction.
Like you, and this actually stems from me as an adult going back to taking a class on African American studies. All the slave masters, they claimed Christianity, but yet didn't look at blacks as even equal. People, as equal. That thou shalt not kill. Yet you guys were killing blacks. You slaughter animals. You are for war. So. To me, there's just a huge line. And then you can't sit here and say you are for sex work and then talk shit about Instagram models who may be selling their pussy. Like, to me, there's just a thin line that you can't sit here and stand for one thing and then in the very next breath contradict yourself. So to me, as someone who identifies as black and who speaks for our community, yes, I have a huge issue with you coming to me because of my light skin. I do. And I'm aware that I may have privilege in certain areas. But I work in corporate America, honey. Fuck the light skin. I'm black. I'm black. I have to figure out what to do with my hair when I go into work. I've been followed in the store before. You know what I mean? I've been looked at differently or been in an area of all white people and I was black. I also spent 6 months in Asia. So trust me, honey, this light skin didn't bring me any privilege on the other side of the world. They knew I was black. So to me, the people who have come to me with their opinions on colorism, I genuinely do have an issue because it just leads to a long line of hypocrisy. That I think a lot of people live by, and I don't believe that people should contradict themselves. So don't come at me with this bullshit Don't fucking do it. And so
accent?
Like, you know, an accent that I don't know from where. But that's really my issue. So it's not that I've received feedback and I've totally hated it, but in certain conversations.
Yeah, you trying to I guess understand. Don't people see the error in what they're
and what they're doing?
Yeah, I'm sitting here in their ways. We've talked about this
yes.
on the show numerous times. It's like we've reached a point in society where people are fucking sensitive. Everybody has a fucking opinion about everything, and sometimes they don't even know what they're really mad at. They just talking for the sake of talking. And then you have people that are fucking choosing whose struggle is more important.
It's more important.
It's not a fucking game.
And it's just but it's the same thing as when everyone wanted to cancel Chris Brown, but then people sitting here, oh well, technically with Fabulous, we never saw Emily missing her teeth, so how do we know he really hit her?
Like people are picking and choosing.
They're picking and choosing all the way. Like the same thing with you guys fucking hate Donald Trump. Then you have y'all are still fucking supporting Kanye. Yeah. So it's just like it's all, if you're gonna be for something, be for that, but you can't in the very next breath or the very next topic be like, oh, but it's different. It's different, but it's the same, but not so much.
Be consistent.
Be consistent. Have that same energy.
Yeah. So I guess we'll transition into what gives you the confidence to be so sexually liberated? Because you guys like to, use the term hoe a lot. And
yes.
Personally, I've never used it.
Right.
In regards to like women that I personally know, or even just shit you just see in social media of women that are very open about being sexual. I just look at it as that. Like, y'all sexually liberated. Y'all have the same choices that men have. So it's like, what gives y'all the confidence, or what gives you the confidence to be so sexually liberated? You could talk about whatever and whatever, and you don't care what anybody may.
I mean, there is that, but we actually use the word hoe and whore and slut and all of these things because we do have an anti-slut shaming podcast. Mm-hmm. So these are all, it's really irony when we use those words.
Power of the word.
Those were all words that were given to us by men to degrade us for our sexual desires and wanting to be pleased. And I actually took a class on sex since 1776, and it went into women's liberation over the course of time. Mm-hmm. And for so long, women were literally having sex to please their husbands and for reproduction. Mm-hmm. There were many times women were not allowed to have sex outside of their marriage. They couldn't even.
This is just strictly in America?
Strictly in America,
okay.
Yeah. That's all I studied, so I don't know everything outside of fucking America, but basically women were just not given, they
didn't have the power to have sex on their
have sex when they wanted to, and then when they did, they were promiscuous. They're seen as prostitutes. They're seen as less than. And then just so many times they just didn't even have the decision themselves as to whether they could get pregnant or not. Because when their husbands wanted to have sex, they had to have sex. If they got pregnant, they had to go through it, which is why, and this was well before abortion became illegal, and we had different methods of birth control. Mm-hmm. But there were just times, even if you go back into history, there were laws that stated that a husband could not rape his wife. Yes. What? That was recent to where that even became a thing. There's also, in the past, when women would come out, like, say, me and Weezy, and would be sexually liberated and say we like sex or crave dick.
They look at them as a witch?
Not that. Close. You would be looked at as a nymphomaniac, and you would be treated as having a mental illness.
Wow. Because
you were a woman that sought to fucking get pleasure from sex that is a beautiful thing.
It's a natural thing.
It's a natural thing. And so to be in, thank God I'm in this part era. Of this era where I can embrace my sexuality and I can go out and look to be pleased. I feel like I am comfortable with my sexuality more so because I'm confident with myself as a woman and who I am and what I desire. I didn't reach that probably until later, so I'm still young. I'm 27.
I was about to say,
I know, I'm talking like an old head. But I'm only 27, but even to who I give my body to and the energy I spend and what I allow done in the bedroom is now what I took control over. And so I think that that's what also makes me so confident and open with my sexuality, is that I know what I want. Yeah. It's hard to be confident, and it's hard to be, it's hard to stand your ground in the bedroom when you don't know what you want. You don't know what makes you feel good. And it's also because sex is so much tied to worth and value. If you're having sex to gain a sense of worth or value for yourself, you're probably not going to find it. You're probably not going to find it, and you're not going to find it enjoying. So once you value yourself and you know your self-worth, then you can be okay with your decisions in the bedroom, your decisions with your partner, and what you decide to do.
Do you think majority of women are sexually liberated, or you feel like they're more recluse?
We're getting there. I do feel like with the platform like Whoreible Decisions that we have, we get so many emails of people saying that we're helping them. I'm since January, I'm down 53 pounds, but thank you.
She looks
but I was in the BBW club. I did weigh over the 200 mark for a lot. Yeah.
I
was over 200 when I was last. I was a good amount over 200. And so even having the confidence of my physical appearance more so than my worth and value, that's also something that I feel like more women, once they get away from, oh my God, I have to be Kim K, oh my God, I have to look like this. If I look like this, I'm sure he'll cheat on me. Or if I look this way, I have to go above and beyond. Like, no, you have to have self-confidence in your outer appearance. And understand your value and worth before you could be sexually liberated.
So it starts with the mental aspect first.
1,000%. I have a friend, and I mentioned this on the Swinger episode. He's a black male. He's very close to me. We have a great friendship, and his mental state right now is terrible. He has a wonderful career. He's very handsome looking, but he currently is not fully accepting of what he is aroused by and what turns him on. He currently is going through this thing where he believes he likes transgenders.
Okay.
So we had this conversation, and he said, so I don't know, I may be bisexual. This is something I can't bring to my mom. I grew up in the church. I'm black. My friends aren't going to accept me dating trans. So then he's like, will I ever have a relationship? And so again, it's kind of what I said before. Once you are confident with your outside exterior and you knowing what turns you on and what pleases you and accepting those things, then you could feel the sexual liberation as a man or woman. Because unfortunately, within our community, men hide a lot of their desires as well because of
I've heard some stories.
The hypermasculinity is real.
I've heard some stories.
It's real. And so yeah, and I have a lot of black men open up to me about the things they do. And of course, I'm all here for anal penetration and all this other thing and pegging and experimentation. And as women, we're okay with claiming bisexuality, and we experiment with our friends, and we sit here and kind of push it on our black men that they have to be macho and the masculine aspect of them. Y'all can't experiment, and I think that's bullshit.
The thing from Insecure when he told homegirl that he experimented with a dude giving him head before, and she was completely turned off by it, and it ruined the relationship.
But this is why I feel like our platform and what I'm doing is important, because we have a lot of black women listening to us. And I don't think that we take that responsibility for our black men as we should. Our black men can't open up to us the way we think they can, because a lot of us are just as closed-minded because we grew up in the same environment.
Yeah.
We grew up with the same people saying the same things about gays and, oh my God, you can't do this. And my dad is Jamaican. So my cousin had to leave Jamaica because he was gay.
Yeah.
Had to come back to Florida because he was a bati boy. to say it in those terms. And my sister identifies as lesbian. And my dad stopped talking to her for quite some time because of this. And so we have to realize, too, that we as people, while we're fighting all of these other things,
we're damaging home already.
We're damaging our own community without having a wide open mindset when it comes to sexuality. We're already having to fight the white man. Let's not fight ourselves because of what our sexual desires are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know?
It's a lot that people got to deal with. So then on the other end of the spectrum, with you being so sexually liberated, do you feel like subconsciously you have to showcase the other sides of you? Like you recently just graduated.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I graduated with 2 bachelor's degrees in 4 years.
Talk heavy.
151 credits. I graduated with my BS in accounting and a BBA in marketing.
The first time. I couldn't do that shit.
No, I knocked it out. I was taking 7 classes a semester while also working at a huge investment bank. I'll say that. I won't say the name, but I was working at one of the most prominent investment banks for the last year and a half. And so I do. It's particularly when it comes to dating.
Okay. Do you mention that you have a podcast when you date? Because it's definitely a plus on my end.
So I think it's a plus for a creative.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to a creative, so whether he be in digital, whether he be a rapper, whether he be or a musician of some sort, or in this space, in the podcast space, it's cool.
Yeah.
They look at it as, I know what you're doing is super dope. I see your numbers. I know the work it takes to get it there. You have a business.
Yeah.
When I meet someone on the other end,
they're like, what are you doing this
it's
for?
more so like, oh, you're advertising your mouth because you have bananas in your mouth all over your page. And, oh, so you a freak. And they automatically just get into sexual conversations with me. So it's very difficult to date because here I am working in corporate America on my journey to completing my CPA, which is a certified public accountant, on my way to moving up the corporate ladder while also being an entrepreneur on the side. And so because, however, my business on the side has to deal with sex and me liberating women and anti-slut shaming and possibly saying, oh my God, we could all be hoes, it's not looked at as the same. And it does kind of, go into that conversation of, could I bring you home to my mom? Could I tell my mom you do this? Could I bring you to church? Could my homeboys know you do this? Can they all hear what you're talking about? So it's going to take a confident man and someone who is educated enough and not ignorant to really see what it is exactly.
But I think when you encounter those type of dudes, they doing you a favor.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah, they doing you a favor.
1,000%. Thank you. Don't waste my time.
Yeah, because once you start to have a real conversation with them, then you start to see like how they're mentally structured. And it's not necessarily their thoughts. It's more how they think is more of learned behavior for them. So it's like, oh, I'm judging you based off of this is how I was raised in the home or this is how I was raised in the church. It's not necessarily I see you as a whole human being itself. So they're kind of doing you a favor.
Yeah, I agree. And I see it early.
Yeah,
so
it's easy to pick
it's really easy to pick out. Not only that,
niggas ain't that slick in the first place.
I like to think that I'm very educated. Like you said, I did. I was involved with blogging, and so that was writing. I self-published my own book at 22 years old, and I was in the sports realm for about 6 years. So you put that on top of having 2 degrees and being in corporate, I can talk about just about anything.
Your resume is heavy.
No, it's really heavy. I have a couple. I have a couple different resumes because they don't all align. You can't put everything on one. I have my corporate resume. Then I bartended for 7 years, so the experience in the club and hospitality. Now I had a Vice article, nigga. Like, like I was featured on Vice.
Google me.
So no, don't Google me, Lord, don't Google me.
I did when the first time
I had some bullshit. I ain't got time for it, man.
I had you on the show, I Googled you. And I think I was on the.
Don't even say the name. Don't even say the message board.
I was on public transit and I Googled your name and there was so many provocative pictures. And I was like, hold up, hold on, let me close.
Those were from the days when I was like 20. It's crazy because when you look back at my modeling, my issues, I was actually my first publication was Urban Ink magazine. Very shortly followed by Straight Stuntin' magazine.
Oh boy, you was out of here.
I want you to know, those were both published maybe about a month or 2 apart from each other, all before I graduated high school. Oh. So I was 18, but yeah, I was a published urban model before I walked across the stage in high school.
Let them
know. Those images were a very short stint between 18 and 21. And then by 20 is when I actually started the blog and took off from there. Had to stop doing those images because I received credentials from the NBA. So I was actually credentialed media with the Orlando Magic for 2 seasons.
Check you out.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah.
See, my friends are famous.
I do a little bit of everything, man.
I hear you.
I'm a chameleon.
So with you being sexually liberated and also being an educated biracial woman, how do you balance both of them?
I genuinely feel like I'm two people. I'm not gonna lie.
Does it depend on the environment that you're in?
Yeah, well, nigga, you just saw my government, so there's that girl, and then there's Mandii B.
I haven't met her yet.
you ain't met the government. It's going to be hard. Being that the conversations we have on my podcast they are not relatable to a conservative environment.
Correct.
My corporate job is conservative. I'm in finance and accounting. So, although this is something that everyone does, like if my boss has kids, that means you had sex. But when you really talk about sex and you really delve into all of the different kinks that we discuss, and the different ways that you can identify your sexuality and gender fluidity and all of these things, it makes the room a little bit more stuffy.
The image.
it makes it a little bit more tense. Yeah.
Because they don't even necessarily care that what it is you're talking about is the image to the public eye. That's what throws them off.
And unfortunately, our name is Whoreible Decisions. So even just that, the stigma attached to whore, which we wanted to do because it's ironic.
It's in your face.
It's a defaming name to women who embrace their sexuality. And I absolutely think it's dumb. We've had a couple guys on the show and we've said, what is your definition of a hoe? And I think every last one had a different motherfucking definition.
There's no real definition.
So there's not a real even definition of this word. Whore, there's not a real definition.
It's just a derogatory term that was created.
Me and Wheezy, even in episode 5, had an argument about the word promiscuous. And so, yes, if you listen back, she didn't want to she didn't feel she was being promiscuous. But to the open eye, and according to the dictionary definition, someone could classify us as promiscuous. Yes. Okay. We have multiple sex partners. We have casual sex. Promiscuous.
That's stupid.
Right. It's very stupid. Unfortunately.
That's a definition.
That's the definition. So yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm currently trying to juggle. If it'll be successful, I don't know.
Well, I think, like you said, you have to kind of be two people. And I think there's a very select few people that can be who they want to be.
Right.
And it not affect the other aspects of their life. And that usually, they have to have money involved.
Right.
Or if you do and you don't have the money, it's going to take a lot of sacrifice and knowing that there's certain doors that may be shut because of who you choose to be. But at the same time, if you go 100% in being who you are, you create your own lane.
But that's the thing. Even outside of the podcast and when I am my government name, as I opened up the show and said, I am not my pussy. So if you sit here and give me a test, if you sit here and look at my credentials, I sat here and went to school. I sit here and get the motherfucking work done. So I feel like I'm still myself, even when I'm not Whoreible Decisions. While I'm at work, I'm using another side of me. Yeah. While I'm on the podcast, I'm using another side of me. And I think a lot of people are multidimensional, and you can cross both. Whether they're going to accept it. Yeah. So if my job, were to see my podcast, would they allow me to intertwine the both? Because to me, I can actively pursue both. I can successfully achieve the duties at hand in both, but will society allow me to do both?
That's the killer.
It's not my decision, really. Yeah.
Society is super trash.
Oh, agreed.
So, you already kind of went into a little rant about this already. But how does colorism play a factor in your life, if any?
I think that's a heavy question. So I mean, I went on the rant earlier. To me, I don't look at colorism. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't affect me. I identify as black. I date black men. Mm-hmm. My friends are black, and we're of all different shades. We all have our preferences. I actually, if you want to call me a colorist, I like light-skinned niggas. I like my niggas to be paper bag brown. So, do dark-skinned men come to me and are like, oh my God, you don't know the struggle. So many women like light-skinned niggas. Like, no, it's not a thing in that. Like, I don't know if that's a thing. Like, can I ask you, because I would consider you a dark-skinned man.
Really?
Brown? I would consider you brown.
In between.
You're not light-skinned. You ain't red.
The sun is out.
You ain't red.
No.
Right.
No.
Right. Uh-huh. So red and paper bag brown and light skin, you wouldn't identify as those, but you're brown.
Okay.
Do you as a man feel the effects of colorism between men the way that a darker skinned woman would feel about a lighter skinned woman who's still black? Like, do you experience that?
Not really per se.
Okay.
Like, when it affects me, never. You'll just see like random comments on social media, like women that still have a preference, or this is something I always mention, like how Hispanic women, because they have this they just look at Kim Kardashian as their goddess, how ever since she came around, all of a sudden now a lot of Hispanic women only date darker skinned men, which was
But she's not even Latina.
Listen, man.
She's like Armenian.
Listen. If you really want to have the conversation.
Right, okay, we don't have to break it down. But no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so besides that, I've never felt like a woman ever treated me a certain way because of my skin tone.
It's weird because I just think that...
But I think it's the opposite for y'all, though.
For sure, because I was about to say, I see memes a lot that have dark chocolate men and the beauty of a dark-skinned man, and oftentimes they shade the light-skinned niggas. Yeah. They say light-skinned niggas ain't shit.
That's funny because and I still want to bring her back on the show. The first, one of our first guests that we didn't personally know was with Tabria Majors.
I love her.
And we did an episode on dating fetishes, and we discussed like whether your preference is really a preference or if it's actually like a fetish. Because I remember one time, this was
did y'all do the BBW discussion?
Yeah.
That turns into quite a fetish, mm-hmm. which is, it's funny that you say that real quick, and I'll just share this quickly. Before I had my weight loss surgery, mm-hmm. like I said, I was over the 200 mark. I was considered a BBW. I literally had men, and this is what affected my confidence, actually. And while they thought it may be a confidence booster, I felt fetishized so bad. Mm-hmm. I had someone say that I was on their bucket list because of my size.
Niggas are trash.
Because they had never been with someone my size, and I was just at the point where they would feel comfortable because I was shapely. So mm-hmm. they're like, you're big, but you're not big, but you're big, but you're curvy. Mm-hmm. And I literally had a nigga tell me I was on his bucket list because he didn't. Because he didn't. Get it with this one. He just wanted to see if he could handle all this. So to me, as a woman who was of a bigger stature, mm-hmm. to hear shit like that, and to know that some men did only have sex with me because maybe they watched BBW porn, mm-hmm. but the girls they would wife would be much thinner than me.
Yeah, completely opposite.
Or they wouldn't. Yeah, so like when you reach a certain weight as a woman, unfortunately, and that's only with weight, because of course there's a fetishizing of black women altogether. But yeah, like it's a real thing. Yeah, it's a real thing. Now I have a preference, and we talk about this often because we don't like to steer away from the interracial dating and all of that on the show, mm-hmm. clearly, because we both date different men. But there's a real life issue with the fetishizing.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because I remember this was years ago because I stopped watching World Star because I felt like it was just depicting us in a certain way.
So bad.
So horrible. But this was years ago. I forgot. Somebody had sent me the link to it. But there was a documentary. There's this small island off the coast of Africa that European white women would go to, and apparently the natives, black African men are supposed to be deemed as the best lovers in the world. So they would go to this coast of Africa and interact with the men over there. No condoms, no nothing, just to experience sex with them. And that's like, and I just found that shit to be fucking awkward and weird. Like, you don't even look at this person as a human being. Like, this is just a tool for your pleasure, and then you go back home to do whatever the fuck you was doing.
White women did that with black women, with black men throughout time, and that could also be to the reason as to why the white men hate the black men so much.
There you have
Back into the slavery days, when you were coming out with all of these biracial children, these women saw the stature of a black man, how the strength of a black man, and how your bodies grow differently than white men. Clearly, we talk about it. Y'all are genetically built like this shit.
Genetically better.
Genetically amazing with these fucking horse dicks. So you have this beauty to you as a black man that anyone should want, and it's kind of intimidating to the white man.
But I just always found it weird that people would just, because like I had conversations with people that would date interracially, and I've always discussed like, okay, you can ask them, like, the issue that some black men would face when they date outside their race is they'll never just date. Some of them won't date outside their race and be like, okay, I like this person because she treats me right, or she does X, Y, and Z. It'd be like, I date this person because black women did such and such to me.
Right, which is wrong.
And then you'll have white women that date black men, and it's like, okay, why do you like him? And they can't say what they really want to say, because then it's like, all right, do you really like him as an individual, or you like him for his features? Like, you'll never ask a white woman why you like him, and she'll say, because I like he's chocolate, or I like because of his tone or his build. They'll never get into that, because they know, like, subconsciously, it's like, you don't really like him for who he is. You just like him for what he does visually.
It's funny that you say this, because this was also something brought up in my rant and aggressiveness towards hypocrisy. And I see it again specifically within the black community, specifically black women. We'll be all for a sister with a white man. Let's go Eve. Let's go Serena. Let's go, you got a white man? Yes. But then on the very next thing, you see them under the comments of Omari Hardwick and his wife, or Childish Gambino and his wife, and be mad that a black man went to a white woman.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh, they keep leaving us.
Again. So there's that line of hypocrisy when it comes to interracial dating. You can't be a black woman and be here for a sister with a white man, and then have a problem that our black men want to date outside their race as well.
You don't even know the context of their relationship.
You don't, and you're still. And you could still be along the lines of a woman who is not uplifting our black men and treating them for what they are. You're throwing them down for being deadbeat dads and but you want these black men? Yeah, you want these black men? You're not accepting their sexual desires. A white woman white people tend to be a little bit more open to sex. And kinks and experimentation. Unfortunately, in our environment, how we were raised, it's just not it. And so you do have black men who are seeking love into other races who are more accepting. You have black men who say Latina women are more catering. You have people that say white women are more submissive. And then I hate that the agenda and stereotype of a black woman is that we're a mad black woman, that we're not submissive enough, that we're too loud, and that we're not educated enough, that we just want your money. You know what I mean? Because when we see these white women with that's not necessarily the narrative all the time. So, and I feel like that's, again, our black community tearing each other apart, because these are all thought processes coming from a black man.
Yeah. Men.
And I don't know if they're getting this from their mother. I don't know if it's just society's agenda, but within our community, we have to change our thought processes on ourselves, because before we can accept each other, there's no way we can sit here and expect for white people to accept us, for Latinas, because I'll tell you, y'all want to sit here and let motherfucking Chicos say the N-word.
Yeah.
The Spanish community is very racist when it comes to fucking dark skins and blacks, and them accepting a nigga into the house.
And they ignore their own roots.
even within the entire Hispanic community.
Yeah.
They sit here, and when Dominicans are too black, they're the fucking negro.
They're not pure blood.
They're not right. But that's also because they're attached to the fucking country of Haiti. And so then it's like, oh no, you too black. So that's what I'm saying. Like, unfortunately, we face color like this in all realms. I lived in Asia, and you'd be surprised. I lived in Asia for 6 months. I lived in Singapore, and going down the beauty aisle, everything had skin whitening in it. So I feel like if we traveled, we would understand that this is something that all cultures and races face. Because in Asia, you're seen as more beautiful if you have more fairer skin. If you're whiter. So I'm aware of these views. I'm aware that it's something that we face not only as a culture, but on a global scale. So when someone comes to me and tries to fucking go against my opinion because of their opinion,
you gotta let them know.
It's just like, bro, I'm fully fucking aware. I'm educated in this, and I traveled the world, I'm living it. So I just want us as a society to grow past some of these issues.
I mean, you just touched upon it, but why do you feel as though like society devalues the black women specifically? Like they don't target anybody else as hard as they target the black woman.
It's funny because
I don't even know if I
me neither. I don't have an answer for that, and maybe that's something that I could look deeper into, because if you look back into history, the black woman has held it the fuck down.
Facts.
From the very beginning, we were raising the children, we were cleaning the house. We weren't in the fields all the time with the men doing the hard labor, but we were taking care of that man when he had to come back into the house. You know what I mean? We weren't able to work the same way white women weren't able to work for a very long time. So we still had to hold it down in every type of way that a white woman has, and deal with all of the issues because of the color of our skin.
Yep.
And so I honestly don't know where it shifted to where even black men have this negative view on a black woman, because if you take it back to the home, you would think a lot of them do have very strong relationships with their mothers.
Yeah, I've always found that weird, like how niggas would treat their significant other or just women bad in general, but then they'll big up that mother that sacrificed everything
so it's
for
like
them.
You're a black man with a black mom. And so unfortunately in our community, we have been, products of our environment, coming from a lot of times single parent household. I grew up in a single parent household. I did not grow up with my father, as a lot of my peers did. And so I really don't have an answer for that. But what is more puzzling to me is the attacks from black men specifically, because we've held our men down while they were locked up, in prison,
in all scenarios,
and in every scenario that you can think of. We've built our black men to get to the places we were. And I don't want to chime too much into this, but many people don't even know even the treatment that T.I. is giving Tiny as his black queen. Tiny was paying for his studio time in the beginning. Tiny was the breadwinner in the very beginning of that relationship, and watched her man grow and helped that man get to where he is today. And now he's out here just frolicking with any other bitch, disrespecting their vows. Now, I do know that them as a couple, they swing, they introduce other people into the bedroom. But again, I think that there's just a lack of communication with them. But again, bringing it back to what black women sacrifice for black men, I don't understand why black men have these angry black women views on black women. Like, but even to the sense that they also just undermine us. I'll sit here and say this real quick, because I know we're running a little bit out of time. But I remember I was out with my friend. We went to a Jets game. My friend at the time knew one of the, the equipment managers. No. It wasn't even a player. It was someone in the back office who, was doing well for himself as a part of the Jets organization. So we went out after the game and had drinks. And so we're talking, but I'm me. I'm Mandii wherever I go, you know. And so I'm having these conversations, you know, I'm the loud one, we're drinking, we're having a good time. And so we finally get into the conversation on education. And I told him I was currently in school for getting my BS in accounting, on a journey to receive my CPA. And do you know what this black man looked at me in my face after, I guess he assumed I was in liberal arts? And when I said accounting, do you know what his response was?
What?
Oh, you must be taking that online. As a black woman, you couldn't sit here and just...
Why would that even come into your mind?
That's what... Because you're aware that accounting is not an easy fucking task. You're aware that it is a mostly white male-dominated profession.
Correct.
And instead of bigging me up as a black woman...
Or even inquiring what led you into going into accounting.
You sat here and undermined my entire education by saying...
You doing that online.
You must be taking that online. Also, someone in the very same exact response came from a man who's in the Lakers organization. That was his response when he's like, "What are you in school for?" Oh, you must be doing that shit online. As in, there's no way that I could possibly be going through that rigorous degree as a black woman.
And I mean,
so it's a lot on the black man. That's where it starts. And I don't know at what point in a black man's life does this agenda in their mind shift, because a lot of these men have a very close relationship with their mothers, and these are black mothers. Yeah, so I don't know where it's changing.
It's weird to me, because then the next point that, you know, ties into what you're saying is like, why won't society allow y'all to be multifaceted? Like, anytime I've seen just people in general that say like, oh, I'm just like this one way all the time, like, I don't trust you. Like, you're a human being. You're supposed to be complex.
Multifaceted.
I'm supposed to be into this and into that and into this. Like, that's how I'm supposed to learn about myself and express myself.
And grow.
Figure out, okay, I tried this doesn't work out for me. I tried this is cool, but I may have to come back around to it. So it's like, specifically for black women, it's like they always put like this one stereotype, whatever it is, whether it's a corporate black woman or a woman from the hood or whatever, and they put those stereotypes and it's like, this is how you're supposed to be all the time. It's like, no, you could be talking about sex on your show, and then you could also work a corporate job. Like, I never understood why they won't allow black women specifically to be multifaceted. They won't
allow us to grow. They won't allow us, and it's crazy, because if you look at the statistics, black women are the number one subset of entrepreneurs in New York City. We're now holding offices in government. We're now being CEOs. We're now getting into these type of industries that are ran by the white man. We're entering these and we're taking the fuck over. And again, in order for us to continue the success and continue to show the world that black women are motherfucking here, we need our kings. And we need y'all to be our backbones to uplift us. We need y'all to sit here and see us for who we are as black women, doing what the fuck we're doing, without being the same motherfuckers to have the same mindset as that white man that y'all hate so motherfucking much.
I was just about to say, it's funny like how they transition into almost being like the slave master.
1000%.
The slave master would make sure the slaves weren't educated to know there's better for themselves. And it's almost as if the black man has kind of taken that role of like, nah, you can't be like this. Because if you like this, then you're going to see my flaws and not accept them.
Yep. And I think that's just the insecurity that some black men do have.
Yeah.
Because
I just feel like people in general, especially people of color, need therapy. But
mental health is so real. And as I get older and seeing the just amount of suicides that monthly, we have celebrities that are just taking their lives, amongst from the numerous amounts of adolescents and people our own age taking their lives because they're not treating their mental health. And I will say, on my show, I've openly said I don't need to see no therapist. I know myself. That's me. That's me, and I do possibly could benefit from it.
I think we all can.
And I think that now, entering a year where I'm about to be 28, I know the value of checking my mental health. But not only that, but making sure I don't leave the people around me to deal with their mental health issues alone, which is what I said, even my friend right now that's questioning his existence because he's not accepting of his sexuality. Mm-hmm. I told him, listen, I'm not going to leave your side. Mm-hmm. I want to see you through this because I don't want you to sit here and think that you can't get through it. He also sees a therapist. There's medications that I know that people don't want to take because they think it's going to change them. I want to give a shout out real quick to Van Lathan. Mm-hmm. He's on TMZ. He's the guy who fought with Kanye, but he shitted on Kanye. But he has his own podcast, and it's called the Red Pill Podcast. Mm-hmm. And he recently opened up about the medications, Zoloft, Lexapro, Xanax, all these things that, mind you, my mom dealt with. Mm-hmm. Mental health, and I had to witness this growing up. My sister dealt with mental health growing up, so it's been something that's been present in my life and seen, and I think that I appreciate more than ever now that the conversation is being had specifically within us.
Yeah, I discussed it last week on our extra ignorance segment. Like, I'm happy for the conversation being brought up, but like everything that America typically does, I just don't want it to be something that they eventually try to figure a way to make a profit off of.
No, I mean, they're going to. But you also have to realize therapy is the doctor. Mm-hmm. And me and my friend had this conversation the other day. Black people don't go to the doctor.
This is true.
Even when it comes to checking for STDs. Yeah. Even when it comes to your yearly checkups. Niggas these days are like, you good? You clean? I'm good. And completely missing cancers mm-hmm. and other things that could be wrong with your body outside of sexually transmitted diseases. And that's because, again, we're products of our not only that, we're products of our environment. Healthcare is very expensive growing up. So if you grew up in poverty, and your mama wasn't paying that copay to take you to the doctor.
It's a black thing of like us being so strong.
So strong.
Overcome everything.
And scared to be vulnerable and scared that you may need to take on treatment to heal yourself because you're not a superhero. You're not invincible. Yeah. And I think that black men wear this belt of kind of
being indestructible.
Immortality. Yeah, they feel like it ain't gonna happen to me.
Yeah.
And I think that with these conversations, it can happen to anybody. None of us are excluded from cancers and sexually transmitted diseases and other things, kidney failure and everything else that could go wrong with you. We're not excluded. We're all human at the end of the day. Despite the color of our skin, despite the shade of our fucking skin, mm-hmm. we need to still treat ourselves as these human beings that we are.
I think we're making some progress. I see a lot of people have started to change their diets and
mm-hmm.
things of that.
Oh yeah, everything's fucking organic now.
Yeah, I think people are making that progress.
I stopped eating red meat. Well, meat kind of.
Same here. So I think once people start to, think about changing the physical, hopefully eventually they'll start to think about changing their mental as well.
Yes.
Because they tie within one another.
Yes.
Because it requires a lot of determination to do both.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, just to wrap this up really quick, why do you feel women, specifically the black women, could be so overly sexualized but then unwanted at the same time? Niggas will double tap on provocative pictures all fucking day, and I'm like, nah, I ain't wifing that, but I'll smash though.
It's weird because and I'll share this story as well. I was out with my friend. This is a guy friend. It was me and two of my friends. One of my friends is on the slimmer side, and my other friend had a big old booty like me. And
shout out to her.
In a conversation with a black man, he literally sat there and told me and my friend with the big butt that we're fun. We look like fun, and that we can't be brought to church, and that he would feel some way to bring me. He said we would be a distraction in church, and that he wouldn't feel comfortable introducing us to his mom.
Church people the ones that be doing all the fuckery out here.
would be sort of ashamed to introduce us to his mom because of our body shapes. We look more promiscuous and sexy, and my smaller friend, even though she's probably a bit just as promiscuous, if anything, she could be brought home. She could be taken to church because of her slimmer frame. So we over-sexualize the black woman for her curves, for the beauty, but those things are sexualized. So a black woman's hips, thighs, ask, things that we can't fucking help
control.
It's in our genetics.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's tied to sex. And I think that has a lot to do just with the hip hop videos growing up, and you know, that's what was that was hypersexualized, even growing up in our fucking generation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why we're looked at differently in that sense. I don't have an answer for that.
It ties back to the whole not being able to be multifaceted thing.
Yep.
Like, yes, she got curves or whatever.
I can have a big old booty and a degree.
Yeah, at the same time, she could do a whole bunch of shit that you may not even be possible to do yourself.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But to wrap this up, very last question is: do you ever feel like we will reach a point in society?
No.
Well, there's that. Thank you for your time. And
no, not in our generation, not in our lifetime. Not gonna happen.
I don't even think
we have too many battles. We sat here on an hour episode and didn't even delve fully into each one. But like I said, we have interracial dating, gender identity, sexuality, religion, and then the struggles within our community in itself. There's just too much. There's just too much. We'll never, ever, ever see eye to eye. But you know why?
Why?
It's because, motherfucker, you can have your opinion and I can have mine. But just because your opinion don't align with mine, don't mean it's wrong.
This is true.
And I'm gonna sign off on that. Thank you, guys. This has been a great episode. I appreciate Steven for having me on Sophisticated Ignorance.
Thank
this
you for
dope.
answering your DMs still.
You know, don't do that. But don't sit here and act like I just be answering all DMs, because, nigga, I be leaving some niggas unread. Read, no response, or just in the other, you know. Nigga, but I fucks with you. I fuck with
what's
this.
Your favorite color? Can I take you out sometime?
Yeah, you're not taking me out. I can't even eat right now. But, guys, if you want to follow me, if you want... No, I'm not going to engage in any conversation pertaining to what I just said, because these are my opinions, and you're more than welcome to disagree. But if you guys want to follow me, you can follow me at Full Court Pumps on Twitter and Instagram, and then go ahead and check out my podcast. It's Whoreible Decisions, spelled WHORE. That's Whoreible Decisions on all platforms that you listen to your favorite podcast. Also, I will be dropping some news on a potential new project that I will be working on.
Exclusive.
Where's the drop? I'm working on creating content for you guys. This is a passion of mine. I enjoy building brands. I enjoy creating content, and I enjoy, starting these conversations. I think they're necessary. So I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. Make sure you tune in to me. Hit me up. Follow me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Live show is this week.
Live show is on Friday. It's sold out, so I can't even plug that in real life. I'm excited if you're going. See you there. If not, we'll see you at the next one, if there is a next one, because this shit is stressful. But we gonna holla. Thank you again for having me. I enjoy this, and this has been definitely Sophisticated Ignorance, and I'm fucking with it.
All right, so we'll see y'all next week.
Peace.